Okay, George, your box has arrived. Postal service still running a bit slow, so it took it a little while to get here. We're going to get it opened up and see what we have in store here. Very cool. Very nice. All right. One of my favorite Seikos ever made. All right. So let's go over a few things. That's interesting. I think you have a Type 1 style crystal in here, a little bit taller than the standard for this. Yeah, that's a tall one. All right, so this is a 1972. May 72, 6105, 8110. Very nice. Yep, everything's functioning as it should. Everything looks correct. So just to go over a few, what I'd like to do, in this video is sort of point out the things that I see, so that there are no surprises when things come back, of course. You got some minor scratching across the back of the case. Some, minor scratching here in the corners where bands have been put on over the years. You got a little bit of just surface wear on the bezel, but everywhere else it looks good. You got some minor scratching here where there's been some just either dings or dents, just normal wear and tear. But again, some things to keep in mind as we get to work. Your loom looks very consistent, although you're losing a little bit here on your minute hand. I can put some binder in that to sort of stiffen that up a little bit to ensure that it doesn't continue to get degraded over time. I can't really fix it necessarily, but it's without relooming, I think it is the way it is. You've got good hands overall. A little bit of corrosion here and there, but nothing terrible. Let's see if we can get the case back off without too much effort. Yeah, it comes right off. Okay. Well, let's see if we've got a service history. Yeah, bunch of service marks. So I have no idea what this means, although it looks to me like it was serviced by the same person more than once, because they have lined up their service marks. But for certain, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 service marks on this watch. All right. Clean, shiny case, and movement looks good. You're definitely running. Hairspring looks good. You got some flat seals here. Still got a little bit of elasticity, but certainly needs to be replaced, of course. And we're going to do your crown as well, just for certainty into the future. So that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and put a little bit of power into the movement and then go ahead and see how it's running. So give it a bit of a wind here, and then we'll throw it on the time grapher. I'm not really concerned about the amount of power in the watch at the moment. Mostly I want to know what the signal looks like from the balance. That's the most important thing to me at the moment. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Okay. So you're losing time, and you got a bit of beat error, quite a bit, but you know that's adjustable in a sense. What I really am interested in is how consistent this set of lines here, these two sets of pointed dots, they're separated quite a bit because of the beat error, and you have very low amplitude, and you're losing time. But all of those things aside, it's really about if this signal was very sporadic and jumpy, I'd be very concerned. But it's clean enough to let me know that we don't have any horrible underlying issues that are going to crop up as we get into the service. Of course, there's barely any power in the watch, and so as a consequence, you tend to have low amplitude and this beat error is something that's adjustable. Okay, so these numbers don't scare me very much. I think that we'll be able to rectify this, even though we're looking at numbers that are 100 degrees in amplitude lower than where they should be. It's here for a service, and that service is going to result in a change in those numbers. Now, cosmetically, your watch is perfect as I like to see them. They show their age. You have a lot of good things going for it. It's just a nice looking watch. So I think once we get everything taken apart and redone, we can go ahead and get things back together and get it looking the same, essentially. That's where I want to be. Okay, so I'm going to take another close look at your movement here, just to kind of explore your mainspring for just a second. I want to see how loose it might be. What I noticed when I first opened it was that there's brassing here on your barrel. And what that means is that because these carry so much power in the barrel themselves, the barrel can tip over time. And it tips because the lower mainspring arbor is worn. And you can see that right here. You see this screw? That's the diagnostic for that problem. And it's something we had discussed. I always try to convince people it's the right path in order to get this mainspring arbor port resolved. Yeah, and you definitely need it. It's one of those things that over 50 years the existence of a watch, this is a nearly 50-year-old watch. This is 72. And it's interesting. This is 72. So what I want to look at now is the length of your sweep hand. Yes, you are in the long sweep club, which means that your sweep hand is as long as your second hand. And so here's my 6105, and as you can see, you have the longer of the sweep hands. I don't know if you can quite see that as well, but you can see where mine comes to. It's about the middle of the marker, and yours extends to the length. And so that's a sign of an early, as well as the horseshoe style case back. That's also a giveaway. But what's interesting is that May of 72 is pretty late for having that long sweep, which is kind of interesting. So I have one of the even later 72s. I have a June 72 that has a long sweep. So it's really interesting to me to see this with its extra long sweep hand, which I think is quite cool. Okay, anyway, that aside. Right, so I'm excited to get to work on this. I've got a little bit of stuff ahead of me here before I can jump into this one. So I will get to it as soon as possible. We have a few things, like I said, we're probably not looking mid-March simply because things have gone a little bit faster and some watches have not arrived yet. The mail is, of course, slow, but I do have a few that are up ahead of you. And so we'll get to it as soon as possible, and I will be in touch as we start going. Okay, so I think for now we're going on the idea that you're going to keep your crystal, I assume. It looks like a good crystal. That seems okay. It's a nice tall one, Type 1 style, which is, I think, perhaps appropriate, but maybe a little bit early for this watch. But if you want me to go to a Hardlex Type 2, which is what may have come in this watch originally, I have those in stock. So we can do that if you want. But those are decisions we'll make as we get to things. All right. Well, I look forward to working on your watch, and thanks again.